Okay, looks like the live stream is going.
Good morning, Leilani, and all those who are joining online. We are going to be getting started in just a few moments. We do not have a quorum physically in the room yet, and so we're trying to make contact with those members to see how long it will be before they arrive. In the event that they are not here, what we'll do is go ahead and move forward with the presentations, and then we will have to come back for action on those items. So if we can just give it just a few moments.
Sounds good.
No, I just, when I can sit in, just to be here. Okay. Chat, having a discussion. After. Really well. Yeah, I think the way is very interesting. Well, I think that's a follow-up conversation.
How are you? Good to see you.
Okay, Madam Chair, and those staff who are online helping us in Zoom, we're ready to get started whenever you are, Madam Chair.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TDLCB meeting today. Unfortunately, we do not have quorum, and we're not going to meet quorum today, which means we will need to do a special meeting because we have items that we need to vote on before June 1st.
June 30th.
June 30th, excuse me. Okay, good. Because I was like, next week, we'll see you guys. So June 30th, unfortunately, it's so imperative as that we can try to meet quorum, because this is very important for us as we're moving forward as a group, and as much as we influence our electeds and legislation and everything else. So with that being said, I'm not going to call to order, because we're just basically going to go over everything on our agenda so that when we have a special meeting, we can just take action. Are there any questions that I can answer for anybody in the room or anyone on Zoom?
So Madam Chairman, for the record though, we do want to go ahead and go through the pledge, and we want to also do a roll call. We won't be able to confirm that there's a quorum, but you will have your attendance for those who are in the room and those who are online. So if we can just proceed as it's printed, we'll note those areas where we cannot take action.
Okay, well then I want to officially give everyone a good morning and welcome. For those of you not here, I hope you remember how to raise and lower your hands so that you can be engaged. And we are going to go ahead and stand for the pledge, the ones that are here. And I'll have Mayor Bateman lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and the ones that are in the room, you're very familiar with the new equipment now. I will say that when you go to speak, the camera comes on you and it is not a flattering view. You know, I always go high, not low, but whoever made these must have been a man. That's all I've got to say.
So Madam Chair, we have this morning Chet Neal, who's here with us from Reliance, and he's going to take us through a brief orientation
Okay,
of this equipment for those in the room, and those who are on Zoom will have the opportunity to take a look at his PowerPoint presentation that he's going to use, so that when they are here, they'll already be halfway oriented.
Good morning.
good morning.
Board members. My name is Chet Neal with Reliance AV. Jason asked me to fill in for him this morning and kind of explain the new technology that we just installed. This is our third meeting on its maiden voyage here with this system. What you see in front of you is an all-in-one, we call it a multimedia terminal. So it has the microphone, the display, the speaker, all built into it, plus your unflattering camera view. We actually took note of that and raised it to the top on the next version coming out.
Okay,
So coming out later this year, we're rectifying that. But it's rather unique, and these style of terminals are seen in the UN, the Supreme Court, very high level venues because of the capabilities that we're really just introducing. It also is capable of voting and additional features such as language interpretation with the little buttons on the side. The ear symbol, you can bring that up, and in a bigger setting or a special situation, you can have live language interpretation going on, and hearing assist built into it. The rest of the system, it also interplays with the rest of the AV system, which includes our 3 new projectors, our new screens, new formatting for those. It's all 16:9 now. And with our control system, we can route any input to any output. Multiple wireless presentation is included, a document camera is included to present whatever needs to be presented to the board. So kind of multiple ways to do that. The listening devices, the system comes with a hearing assist system per ADA requirements that we have these special receivers. So there's right now our audio is being transmitted wirelessly in the room that can be picked up by these wireless receivers. They're used with a little ear set, or with hearing aids, you can use a loop system. If you're familiar with that. So you put a loop around your neck, it works with your T-coil that's built into the hearing aid, and you're off and set. Another feature, as the hearing aids become more advanced, they don't have that T-coil. It's an older technology, but everything is now Bluetooth. So there's an app for that. So in this system, there's an app that you can download that'll be posted at the door. And then you can tune in and listen to the audio from the room via your phone. So that's a nice feature that's been added too. And there's kind of extra conveniences around. You'll see these little discs in the front, in the middle of each two terminals, and those are plugs, USB charging stations. And then the top is a wireless charging station. So if your phone's getting low, just lay it on top, and you can wirelessly charge right from there. So features there, and we are able to integrate streaming capabilities with the system as well. And those go to the system over here in the corner where we can take all the camera views, the large camera back here. And as I talk and as people talk around the room, those camera views will pop up and we can stream simultaneously to up to 3 destinations, YouTube, Facebook, all at one time. I think I caught everything there. The use of the room, what's the next slide? So the units in front of you are very simple to operate. You have a little button right in the middle, the speaking symbol, and that's how you turn on and off your microphone. That is the way you can get to kind of initially raising your hand inside the room, because then your mic comes on, the red light indicates that your mic comes on, and then your camera view will also pop up as well. There's a home button on the next slide. And in the middle, so when you first come in, you'll see your name, as you saw today, you see your name on there and you sign in. That actually is recorded with the software that you're signed in and present in the room. A nice feature with that. The other features of the terminal, if you go to the home button, which is on the right side in the middle, you can press that and exit out to a screen that will give you, will show you the different features that are available to you, such as the files, the agenda, and everything are located right there on your screen. If we have the next slide. We talked about the microphone. Next slide, please. And then, so you'll see the paperless agenda once you go into the home screen. Under your remote tab, you'll see the agenda and a detailed agenda for the meeting. You can tap on one of those documents, bring up that document, and pinch and zoom in and scroll, just as it would be on your phone. Next slide, I think we have a video of that as well. And we'll play, there we go. You can bring that in. It's a nice feature that's stored locally on each terminal, so you can pop in and out of that as you want.
I was gonna say, anybody in the room, if you hit the VOD, you can actually watch what's on the screen right in front of you. So if you hit sign on, hit the VOD, I'm watching it from my screen, what we're watching up there. So makes it nice, so you can tune in or look at anything specific. Since
Yeah.
we're here, we might as well. VOD, that one.
Yeah, VOD and the
and then that
HDMI
first one,
input,
HDMI.
and that's how you'll see the content streaming live. So
So you-
everything
so
we're
you hit the
presenting out to
VOD
Zoom.
at the top, and then the first one that says HDMI. And you guys should be able to all see the screen. Nice.
You stole my thunder. That was my next slide. but
Oh,
that's okay.
I was just trying to have them be able to see what you're seeing. And you folks online, when you
There we
join
go.
us, you guys can enjoy this feature too.
That's right. It's a nice feature that we can, that can also be managed up here as well. So if we want and need everyone to see something at the same time, then we can force that out to the terminals from this location. Are there any other questions about the system, its capabilities?
We are
Uh-huh.
going to be taking baby steps. So what you saw is just an opportunity to get a little bit of an orientation today. at our future meetings, we may add on those files that you're able to go into and to have at your display. But today, we just wanted to be able to get you an orientation so that you'll be able to speak and view what's being broadcast to you. So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to welcome everyone to the hybrid meeting of the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is Myra Uribe. I'll be chairing the meeting today. We also have a team of folks working to ensure the meeting runs very smoothly. Today's meeting was advertised on MetroPlan Orlando's website and social media, as well as through targeted emails. Florida Sunshine Law requires a quorum to be physical present in a room for a government meeting. This meeting is being held in a hybrid format with a minimum quorum. Unfortunately, we have not met that quorum today, which we've already gone over. Members who are joining us online are expected to participate fully in the discussion and vote on all action. We won't be voting today. To facilitate the agenda, I will recognize virtual hands first, then those in the boardroom. There are also 2 public comment points in the meeting. Members of the public who want to speak will use the raise hand feature on the Zoom screen. If attending by phone, you can hit *9 to raise your hand and request to be recognized. When you're called, your microphone will be temporarily unmuted by staff and will ask you to state your name and contact information for the record. We also accepted comments by email and phone message before the meeting. The guidelines for the public comment are posted in metroplanorlando.org/virtual meetings. Public comments received before the meeting will be heard into the record by staff at the appropriate time during the meeting. I'm going to go ahead at this time. Miss Lisa, can you please call the roll to ensure we don't have a quorum today?
Good morning. I will call the roll first of the members that are joining us online. So if you could please go ahead and unmute yourself now for the roll call. You can go on mute again after your name is called. Please make sure your video is on if possible so that we can confirm that it's you. You'll find your unmute and video buttons on the bottom left side of your toolbar at the bottom of your screen. Please say here or present when your name is called. Marilyn Baldwin,
Present.
Crystal Ford,
Present.
James Grezick,
Present.
Norm Hickling,
Present.
Dr. Levine Silverman,
Present.
Robert Milia,
Present.
Janae Olds,
Present.
Carla Radka, Wilfredo Races,
Present.
Joe Santiago,
Present.
Calvin Smith.
Present.
And now I will call, and I notice one more of my board members is online. Miss Diane Arnold,
Present.
Chad Ballard, Mayor Bates,
Here.
Nika Berry,
Present.
Sharon Jennings, Wayne Olson, Commissioner Uribe, Miss Witt,
Present.
Mr. Zabritsky.
Here.
Madam Chair, that concludes the roll call. We do not have a quorum physically present.
Will not be able to take action. So Ms. Whittington, for some announcements and agenda review, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman and committee members who are joining online. And again, thank you for your flexibility as we've conducted these virtual meetings and workshops over the past year. We really appreciate your flexibility and your patience. You're probably all aware that the governor signed a new executive order last week, which essentially opens up the state and places us on a path to whatever our new normal is going to look like. MetroPlan Orlando's board, as you know, passed a resolution last December that essentially allowed all of its committees to meet in a virtual format, workshop format, without need for a physical quorum to be present, with the exception of the LCB, which of course you know requires a physical quorum to be present in order for us to take action. And we did try very, very hard. And up until this morning, we had a quorum for the meeting, but you know, life happens and things happen. And so we thank you in advance for working with us to find another date that we would be able to get together to take action on these very important items, as they must be approved by June 30th. The board's resolution takes us through June 30, and beginning July 1st, we will return to in-person meetings, and which means that we will be complying with, of course, all applicable laws. We will continue to offer the virtual option for the public to attend the meetings and to make public comment, and the meetings will continue to be streamed live on YouTube. As the chair mentioned, to facilitate your participation at today's meeting, we will be using the raise hands feature for those of you who are joining us on Zoom, and then recognizing those who are in person. If you have questions or comments, we ask that if you can reach your nameplate, that you would turn it on its side so that the chair can visually see that you want to make a comment. Members, if you're on the Zoom and you're joining us on the phone only without a video screen, we ask that you would use *6 to mute and unmute yourself, and *9 to raise your virtual hand. You'll see that there's a chat feature on the bar. Everyone is pretty much accustomed to that by now, as we're continuing to use these virtual options. A full record of that chat comment will be included in the public record for this meeting. Today's meeting is accessible to the public via computer, tablet, or phone. And as the chair mentioned, there are 2 public comment periods, one pertaining to the action items, which although you will not be taking action, if there are public comments that are applicable to those items, we would still need to offer the opportunity for the public to make those comments at that time. And then later on the agenda, we have received a comment card, Madam Chairwoman, from someone who would like to make a comment of a general nature. A recording of this meeting can be accessed later on MetroPlan Orlando's YouTube channel. You'll find links to the YouTube channel as well as to the meeting agenda in the chat box, which is located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Madam Chair, 2 additional things, actually 3 things before we move into the public comments. First, there is a new face that is joining us today in our Zoom room. And I'd like to, with your permission, offer an opportunity for Ms. Dana Baker to greet the TDLCB. She has moved into the role of Chief Operations Officer at Lynx. And so if it's okay, I'd like to offer her an opportunity to introduce herself.
Yes, I had the pleasure of meeting Dana. So Dana, you have the floor.
Good morning. Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here. I look forward to supporting this group as well as supporting our disadvantaged customers. I've been in transit over 30 years, working in operations as well as maintenance. I've been at Lynx approximately, it's going on 3 years now. Time is moving really quickly. And I just really look forward to working with you all and supporting this group. So thank you very much.
And we should know, I had a meeting with Dana and shared my passion for this board and what we need to do and the dignity and the service. And she was right spot on in supporting that effort. So thank you, Ms. Dana. We're excited to work with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dana, and thanks for being here today. And Madam Chair, John Slott, who has been the interim in this position, would like to also greet the TDLCB this morning.
John, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Virginia. I just wanted to say thank you all for your support of Lynx and continued support of Lynx as we endeavor to provide safe, reliable paratransit services to our community, and looking forward to supporting you all as we go along here. And at this point, I'll be focusing with the team on planning and development. So anything future will be our focus now, and here to support Dana, Norm, and Salita and the gang, Ben, as we move forward. So just wanted to say thank you very much for your friendship and partnership, and look forward to seeing you in a different role as we go forward. So take care.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you.
Thanks, John, and we thank you for your support in the time that you have filled dual roles as you were continuing your normal role as well as filling in the interim. Lastly, Madam Chair, before we move into the agenda, I want to call attention to MetroPlan Orlando's public opinion survey that is currently open and available each couple of years. MetroPlan Orlando gauges the public's opinion about transportation. And so we have some flyers that are on the table as you are getting ready to leave. If you will take one of these and share it with your constituents. We want to hear from as many people as we can. Share it with your professional groups, share it with your neighborhood associations, anyone that you can get this into the hands of. It closes on the 23rd of May. And so if you could do that most expeditiously, we would be grateful for that. And there's also an opportunity for participants to enter for a $25 gift card that they will be eligible to win. So there's a little incentive there. Lastly, the only change that we have to the agenda is the rate calculation item will be presented by Mr. Norm Hickling instead of Trish Witten. Other than that, Madam Chair, we are prepared to move forward with the agenda, understanding that these are for information only at this point.
I have a follow-up question. Ms. Whittington, do we have that video that was played yesterday during MetroPlan? That was a really nice video. And if possible, could I have the email and the link? I mean, could I have the flyer and the link emailed to me?
Absolutely.
I will
We can
include
do
it in my
that.
newsletter.
And with your permission, if we can end the meeting with that link, because I did not have staff to cue that.
Oh,
But if we can
sorry.
end, but we can do it. We've got some great staff supporting us. And we can end the meeting with that. And that'll be a good reminder for everyone as you're leaving.
Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to cause more trouble. It was just a good video, so you should be happy that I liked it. Okay, we will now hear public comments on today's action items, even though we will not be voting on these action items. Do we have people who want to speak on any action item? If so, please use the raise hand function found at the bottom of your screen and by pressing *9 on your phone keypad. When we call your name, the host will unmute your microphone. You will see a pop-up that says the host wants to unmute you. Accept that prompt to activate your microphone. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record. Please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less. Are there any comments at this time?
It looks like on the attendee side, just give it a minute. And we do not have any raised hands on the public side.
Is there anyone in person today who wishes to make a comment on any of the action items?
Madam Chair, we have not received any comment cards.
Madam Chair, we do have one raised hand that just came
Okay.
in.
So we'll go ahead and recognize them.
Okay, the raised hand comes from Mr. Pedro Portundo, and I'm going to go ahead and allow him to talk. Okay, Mr. Pedro, you should be able to unmute yourself. You've unmuted yourself. You can go ahead and speak. Mr. Pedro, if you go ahead and use *6 to unmute yourself, you'll be able to speak. Okay, looks like he just lowered his hand, so I don't believe he is going to be, okay, he's raising it again. Okay. Mr. Pedro, if you just go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself, you'll be able to give us your comment.
Leilani, let's go ahead and move
Yeah.
on, and we'll
Okay.
see if we can work through those technical
Okay.
difficulties with Mr. Pedro.
And
We're going to go ahead and move on. Thank you.
we have an opportunity also at the end of the meeting, so hopefully Mr. Pedro will go ahead and give us his comment then. Are there any written comments that were submitted before the meeting?
We do not have any written comments.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Whittington. Next, we will hear from Ms. Marilyn Baldwin, Chair of the QATF. Ms. Baldwin, you are very missed and you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I miss being present too and look forward to returning. The Quality Assurance Task Force met on April 27th in a virtual workshop format where items that are being presented to the LCB today were reviewed by the Quality Assurance Task Force and comes with our consensus recommendations. And those items include a review and consensus recommendation of the draft TDSP minor updates and a review of the rate calculation workshop. We also received an update from Access Links. And our next committee meeting will be July 27th. And Madam Chairman, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. I appreciate that, Ms. Baldwin. And we are going to go ahead and move forward. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Baldwin? Members joining us via Zoom, please use the raised hand feature, and those in the room, please turn your nameplate on. It's side to be recognized. I'm sorry, where is it? Oh, okay. Okay. I thought it was something on the screen, didn't you guys? I'm like looking for this new button that I thought Chet didn't tell us about, but okay. So I'm sorry. So I will go back to anyone on Zoom. Do they want to be recognized?
Leilani, do we have anyone on Zoom that has raised their hand with questions?
Yes, it appears Mr. Portuno, he is from IMT. He was unable to unmute his computer. So I'm going to go ahead and try to unmute him again. Okay, Mr. Pedro, you're able to go ahead and speak. I've unmuted you. Okay, it says that he is speaking, but we're not able to hear him.
Okay, I think
He's probably not, he's probably on his end, not logged into his audio.
Okay, maybe we can connect with him to at least at the end of the meeting, be able to allow him to speak. Okay, and
I will work on that with him.
Okay, again, do we have any questions in the room? I don't see any signs, and I apologize. I thought we had a button here that I know I went into very basic mode, like I didn't understand what I was reading. Okay, next we will move on to the consent agenda. We will move on to the action items in today's agendas. Again, we're going to remind you, we cannot vote on any of these items today, but we are going to go through them so that when we have our special meeting, we can really just take action and we won't have to duplicate this effort. So Ms. Virginia, do you have the floor on this, or do you want me to just move on?
Just to ask if there are any noted changes to the February 11th meeting minutes, and if so, we could call those to the attention of staff now. Otherwise, we can move to the next presentation.
Okay, so I'll ask online or in the room if there's any changes to the February 11th LCB meeting, to the minutes. We don't have any seconds. Any comments in the room or online? And I guess I'll be just confirming online because I can see everyone in the room. Leilani, any comments or hands raised?
No, there are not. I'm still going to be working with Mr. Pedro to try to get him connected to his audio so that he's able to make his comment.
We're going to go ahead and move on to the approval of the draft TDLCB minor updates. This is tab 2 of your agenda. Our proposed minor updates to the 2020-2025 Transit Development Service Plan. This item will be presented by Ms. Trish Whitten. Ms. Whitten, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Trish Whitten, Senior Planner and Strategic Planning at Links. I'll be going through our minor update changes. The major update was completed in 2018, and it covers the period of 2018 to 2023. And there's minor updates on the interim years. So we'll have one more minor update after this, and our major update will be due the following year. So this plan is approved by this board and then with final approval as a requirement by the Florida Commission for the Transportation Disadvantaged. Next slide, please. There's 3 parts to this plan. The first one is the development plan, and that pretty much includes baseline conditions, roles and responsibilities, goals, objectives, and implementation. Some of the minor changes that we made this year are updates to the certification chairperson signature page, which will be signed after the plan's been approved before we submit it to the CTD. We also updated the coordinating board roster to include the most current version from March. And in the introduction, most of the year was spent with COVID-related actions and operations. So we really want to highlight some of the things that have been done this year. And those include the quarantine trips that have been completed. Mobility Services has been providing trips for vaccination sites, testing, helping to transport COVID positive unhoused populations. So we went ahead and updated that section to include those items. The links organization charts were updated to reflect the most current staffing changes that have occurred over the past year, as well as the service area map was replaced with the most current routes. Part of this plan also includes a review of local planning efforts that have occurred, just to make sure that we're still consistent with the planning that's been going on in the region. So this year we updated to include the Metropolitan Transportation Plan goals within the TDSP. And the TDLCB certification was updated for the March version. And then looking at the demographic summary, we look at American Community Survey data, the latest, which this year was 2019, and we went ahead and compared that to the 2018 data that was used the previous year. So based on that comparison, we saw about a 6% change in population and only a very slight increase in the age group of 55 and older. Next slide, please. We also look at the unemployment data to see what's going on in the region, and we used 2019 ACS data, which showed about a 4% unemployment rate, but we know that that's not really accurate with COVID. So we also looked at the Labor Bureau statistics, which shows more of a 6.5% unemployment rate for February 2021. The Mobility Services Department pulls the trip generators and attractors for the year to compare those to the previous year and kind of look to see where our passengers are going, if there's any changes. And that section was still consistent with the previous year, showing that the majority of trips are to dialysis. The plan includes a forecast of TD population. There were no changes to that this year. That's usually updated with the Bureau of Economic Business Research data, and that data really didn't change too much compared to the previous year. So that'll be looked at again in future updates. The needs assessment section, and also I want to mention the Bieber data is still consistent, showing that Osceola County has the highest growth in the 3-county region at this time, or the 3-county area. The needs assessment was reviewed, and within this plan, the appendices includes the Human Services Transportation Plan, which is really the comprehensive needs assessment that's completed based on extensive public outreach, and that was last updated in 2019. So another major needs assessment will be completed with that update. So what we did in this section was we included the revised TD eligibility process, which has recently been revised through the working group to include the 3 criteria that the passenger must meet, either no access to a fixed route, having a disability, or having an income level at or below 185% of the federal poverty level. And then the overall goal of the TDSP has been to transition customers off of the more costly paratransit system when they're able and it's appropriate to other modes, such as fixed route or the TNCs. So we wanted to include some language on a project that Lynx is working on. Right now, it's a general transit feed, and it will feed into third-party vendors such as Google and the passenger can go onto Google and see real-time accessibility information at the bus stops, whether there's a sidewalk or if there's anything at this current time affecting accessibility. So that language was included. And then we took a look at the goals, objectives, and strategies to see if any changes were needed in this minor update. And many of the items that are included kind of put on hold this year based on COVID and the outreach events not really taking place. So we went ahead and added status updates to those sections. And some of them include the how to ride guide is in draft format, and that's being reviewed. So we will work on getting that out very soon. There was a goal of 14 days to close out any complaints. So we went ahead and added some language to show that we're at 9.29 days is our average time to close out the complaints. So we are meeting that goal. And then with that is the implementation schedule, which was revised to kind of just push back the timeline so that as we're in the recovery process from COVID, we can start going back out to those events and talking to people about mobility services, as well as continuing more of the travel training that we were doing before COVID. Next slide, please. Then the second portion of the plan is the service plan. And this section was updated to reflect the new TD criteria that I just went over and the application. And we looked at some of the trips that have occurred this year and compared them to last year, the subscription and demand response percentages. And we did see a change. The subscription trips were down and the demand response trips were up, which is a little bit different from the previous year. So we noted that, as well as the vehicle replacement that's been going on. Access Links has replaced 1/3 of its fleet with brand new vehicles this year and 100% of the NeighborLink fleet. We added information on that and updated the agency provider list to reflect the most current agencies that are providing trips, updated the most current vehicle inventories, as well as the most recent signed safety program certification pages. Next slide, please. One more. There we go. And lastly, in the service plan, the service standards section, this year we did not make any changes to the service standards, but there is a service standard in there regarding call hold time. And probably a lot of you remember last year, call hold time was a major issue. Customers were dissatisfied and it was a bit lengthy. So we were going to work this year towards reducing call hold time. And we have had our customer service representatives transition to a more remote work, as well as implementation of the Access web online reservation system. And that also with reduced call volumes, we've seen a 90% reduction in call hold time. So we added some language to reflect that within the plan. There's also been a 90% reduction in abandoned calls. So that's good. And as we move forward, we're going to continue to look at those new ways of taking calls as we look at technology in the future. The program-wide cost rates are to be updated every year. It's a requirement, and that is next on the agenda, I believe, and Norm will cover that. So I'll just mention that within the plan, these are included. Next slide, please. And the last section of the plan is the quality assurance section, and the CTC evaluation is currently underway and being completed. So what we did was look at the evaluation from last year, the 2020 evaluation, and there were no areas in need of corrective action for the CTC. So the attachments to the document are the new Access Links TD application, as well as the updated grievance procedures, and the rate model calculation spreadsheets are included at the end of the plan. And that concludes the minor updates that were completed this year. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Ms. Witten, this is Myra, and thank you for the presentation. I did want a point of clarity, if you don't mind. I know that you were giving us updates compared to 2020, but is that data really accurate, knowing what we went through? And I guess my question would really boil down to is the ridership back to pre-COVID time to really have accurate data?
The data that was included in this plan is, as far as demographics, was used what was available as the 2019 American Community Survey. We do have our ridership data, and I'll let Norm speak to that because we have a pretty good idea of where our ridership is now. The demographics, I think we're going to have to wait a little while until the COVID is reflected within those. But Norm, can you talk about our ridership?
Yeah, Madam Chair and members, the ridership right now, and we'll talk a little bit about it in my presentation towards the end of the meeting, is right at about 42,000 trips per month. Pre-COVID, we were looking at anywhere from 55 upwards to towards 60,000 trips per month. So we are still on one provider, which is our main provider, MV Transportation. And but we're right at about 42,000 trips, and that has been consistent for March, April, and it looks like it's going to be consistent for May. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, yeah, it does. I wanted to make sure because there were numbers of 2020 being spoken about in this conversation, so I just wanted that clarity. I'm going to open up for any questions online. Do we have, Lailana, any questions or hands raised?
We have Mr. James Grezic. Sorry.
Yes, Ms. Whittington, you did a good job with the updates so far, but are you planning any updates as far as for COVID cleanliness inside the vehicles and what was done in the past year and continuing that into the future, so that we should probably put that in your plan as well?
We included a little bit in the introduction about the sanitizing processes that we've been doing. So yes, we definitely want to include that. And I'll let Norm talk about what's going to continue in the future moving forward, but we have been sanitizing the vehicles and cleaning extensively.
Yeah, I just think that you should put that as part of your normal plan, not just in the front matter, but add it into the back section as well, so that it continues to stay there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Any other questions online? Any other raised hands?
Not at this time.
Okay, anyone in the room? I will ask in the room because I can't reach my thing, so I'll leave it at that. Okay, Ms. Whitting, thank you for the presentation. And again, we will not be voting on this item today, but we have had our presentation, so hopefully it'll be something that we can go through a little bit quicker when we do meet for that special session. So thank you very much, Trish. And we have one presentation today, which is an update on Access Links, and this is Norm's hot seat time. So Norm, you have the floor.
Madam Chairman, we do have that rate calculation worksheet.
Oh, we
that
do.
needs to be presented as well.
Oh,
and
I'm
then
sorry.
He can zoom right into his update if that's okay.
Norm, just hold that thought. So
Okay.
at tab 3 is the FY 2021-2022 rate calculations for Access Links. This item will be also presented by Mr. Norm Hinckley. So Norm, you are up to bat again. So
Okay, and thank you, Madam Chair, once again. And this is the rate calculations. These are done on an annual basis, and these are the rate calculations that need to get approved by this board. And they are then sent to the CTD, and they are what is utilized as to the expenditures, like with the trip and equipment grant, et cetera. So you can see what was approved in FY 20 and 21, and then you can see the new rates that are being proposed for 21 and 22 reporting period. Now there's numerous workbook and sheets that go with it. We have our finance team here at Links go through that. They bring in the revenues and the expenditures and the purchase transportation in order to perform the services for transportation disadvantaged. We sent those to the CTD and they have reviewed them. They didn't find any errors in our logic or how we had come up with these numbers. So we present them to you ultimately for your approval so that we can submit them officially to the CTD. So unless you have any questions, that's a pretty quick presentation.
Norm, I just have one question before I go to the Zoom and then to the room. Is that rate change consistent what normally happens, or was there did it increase or did it decrease? Do you mind sharing?
It is an increase, and you can see the percentage of increase there. It is very minimal compared to what it has been in the past years. And we have worked very hard as a team here between our finance and our mobility services team and the planning team to make sure that we are really looking at and scrubbing these numbers and have a good methodology to come up with it. So that's why you see this not a high increase, and it's keeping, and it's been consistent this way for the last couple of years.
Okay, just wanted to ask since I couldn't see prior to 2020. Do we have any questions or comments from members on Zoom? Please use your raise hand feature and Ms. Leilani can recognize you.
We do not at this time.
Okay, and anybody in the room?
Madam Chair, if I may, I want to do the same with this board as I did with the QATF. When you're looking at these rates, it's important to note that this is what it costs Access Links to deliver a paratransit trip. The ambulatory rate and the wheelchair rate is there. And then much of this is subsidized for the rider. The rider pays anywhere from $350 to $750 one way for their trips. So you do the math and you can see how much our partners are having to step up to pay for that delta. So we are excited to be able to present these, but just want to be cognizant of the fact that this does cost a lot to provide these trips, and thanks to our partners, we're able to do so.
Okay, I want to take this moment to recognize anybody in the room with a question. As a follow-up, Ms. Whittington, when you talk about these rates and subsidized, is this also responsibility of some of the providers that are out there that should be helping us cover this rate when we discuss rates that are not being paid for by certain providers and that Links is carrying, or maybe Norm can?
Yeah, I think that's a better question for Norm and the Access Links team. We continue to have the concern for Medicaid trips that are being funneled over to the TD. And he can speak more about that because we can't get the information to confirm whether a rider has other sponsored trips. And that's been something that has been a problem for a little while now. Norm?
Yeah, and at this point, Virginia, you're absolutely right. We do not have that visibility. So if someone has applied for transportation disadvantaged eligibility and they have met the qualifications, then they become eligible. And when they call, they make a reservation and we provide that trip where they need to go. We do not have that visibility as to whether they are Medicaid in that system, whether their trips could be paid for by another source, such as a private insurance company, et cetera. It is something that we would like to have ultimately. That may help us if there is a legal way to go do that and have access to, so that we could kind of promote and encourage those folks that need transit options, that they might look into those a little bit more thoroughly. But at this point, we just don't have that visibility. So we look at their eligibility requirements or the criteria, and if they meet them, then they're eligible in our system.
Norm, can I do a follow-up question? When we were looking at that application process, weren't we trying to gather that information on the updated application process?
What we did with the work team is we were able to add, we've always had, if you were outside and not near a fixed route and didn't have access to it, then you became eligible. What we're going to go do now on June 1st is we are sending out letters to members who are transportation disadvantaged. We've added a couple. If you have a disability or you have your income level is under the poverty level, 185% of the poverty level, then if you meet 2 of those 3 criteria, too far away from a fixed route, economic standing, and or have a disability, then you meet 2 of those, then you'll be part of that eligibility. So if we have increased the requirements for the eligibility system on TD, and that should help out quite a bit. But we're still not asking about Medicaid or Medicare or anything of that sort.
Thank you, Norm. On that, again, we cannot vote on this action today, so this is more for in presentation and informational purposes, but it will be a mandatory vote that we will have to do in our special meeting. Now we will move on to the update from Access Links. Norm, you continue to have the floor. Director of Mobility Services will provide us an update.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And if we could put the charts up, we'll go through them. I hope. Or I can narrate. Are the charts available? Yeah, it looks like it.
Yes, we're getting them up, Norm.
Okay, no problem.
Madam Chair, I understand that there's a hand raised that may have been on that last item. Mr. Bob Melia has his hand up.
Mr. Melia, you are recognized and we apologize.
No, no worries. I just wanted to provide a little insight into what Norm was saying about not being able to look into whether a client is Medicaid transport eligible or not. I can tell you that my staff reports to me regularly that patients of theirs who are either late for appointments or miss appointments altogether report that there seems to be no accountability in Medicaid transport and Medicare transport. So they, after missing multiple appointments, give up and rely on Access Links and TD to get them to their doctor's appointments and to their rehab appointments because they have no other option. I don't know what MetroPlan as a board can do, but this is something that Tallahassee is aware of, they just don't care about.
Bob, I actually appreciate that comment. And Ms. Whittington and Norm, do you guys think in the future we could have like a work session to discuss that a little bit more? To get some, I guess, up-to-date information and then get Norm's, because what Bob is saying is very relevant, and then what Norm is saying is very relevant, but we can't disregard that rate, which is very high, that is also taking place.
Absolutely. We can schedule a work session to discuss it. And I think it might be good also to bring to the MetroPlan Orlando board as they begin to talk about legislative priorities for the next legislative session, which is going to happen really quickly. It's been on the radar, but it may be time to raise the level a little bit more.
Can we maybe see if there's an interest on the board? Because I don't want to make it seem like this is my issue. I just think it's fair and right. And is there any way we can kind of take a vote, like just a voice vote, to see if there's interest?
I mean, like here today, you can you can do it on consensus.
Yeah, I mean,
feedback,
nothing
but-
formal, but I mean, if there isn't an interest, then maybe we shouldn't discuss it as a board. But if there is, and we can get more information so that we can take this to MetroPlan board and make it a priority and really assist, because you know the TD and everything else. And then that way we get all you people online to participate somehow with us today. If we can, like everyone can unmute themselves
just get some
and
feedback from them.
just get feedback. If there is an interest, or maybe you can raise your hand. I don't know how we can hear everyone's voice. If you have an interest of learning a little bit more of this and possibly getting help from MetroPlan Orlando, so we could take this issue and try to make it a legislative priority for the next legislative cycle, can we maybe have a hand raised? Oh, I don't know where my hand went. There you go. So at this time, I'll go ahead and call, we'll go ahead and call. So if you can please raise your hand on screen, we will go ahead and count your votes by hand, and then we'll do the same here in person. So if there is an interest, please raise your hand.
And this is just a signal. This is not a vote for the
Yeah.
record. All right.
Okay,
great.
it's almost everyone. Hi, everyone. And then in the room, is there an interest? Can we raise our hands? Oh, shoot. You have a question? Oh, your hand raised? And we had a unanimous in the room. So if we could, that would be a great topic to move forward and also assist you, Norm, so that there is a partnership here to help you. And,
Absolutely. And it will have our team support. Absolutely, Madam Chair.
And
Thank
Bob, we really appreciate your comment and hope that you'll be engaged when we go to discuss this in the future.
Yes, certainly, but I'm going to warn you, you probably don't want me getting up on the soapbox.
Okay. We'll have no boxes here that day, and you can't jump on the table either. All right, Norm, are you ready for your presentation?
I am. Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
So, as they're pulling the package up, what we have done is we continue with our package that we shared with you in the past, at least the format where we will talk and describe the trip performance and analysis that we've had done through the month of March, some of the funding allocations and the call center performance, and then also the eligibility status, and then finally some program initiatives and status reports on things that have been of interest to you all and that you've asked about and that we presented to you in the past. So we can kind of give you a status. So next chart, please. This represents March. It's a very busy chart. It is our kind of our measuring stick, if you will, that we go by. We look at these and when we put the data together, it really helps us understand how our business is functioning. In March, we had 42,656 total trips that we performed with MV Transportation. That was an 18% jump from January and February timeframe. So it really represents the fact that the individuals were getting their vaccinations. They were feeling more comfortable about traveling. We had more reservations. Again, a lot more activity. And we've seen that consistent in April, and we're seeing that consistent in May right now. So it's back to the question that you had, Madam Chair, in regards to, are we back to pre-COVID levels? No, but we are growing, and you can just see it with the employment, medical offices opening up, et cetera. So again, during the month of March, we up on the upper right-hand corner, we kind of list out the three highest generators of trips. These are destinations. Lighthouse continues to be a #1 destination for individuals, and then that's an employment. Down towards the lower left-hand side, we break out the different trip types that we have: dialysis, employment, personal, medical, education. And those are all there to provide, to show us many different things and the reasons why people are riding on our system. And most likely when we talk about and have this meeting talking about Medicaid and other possible sources of revenue, if you will, or where trips are being generated, most likely will be from the insurance side of that house. So with that, I'll go to the next chart. Again, this breaks it down just a little bit more clear. You can see the big jump that we had in March of 2021. And we had an almost 19% increase in the number of trips. And so that has caused a lot of discussion, a lot of reaching out to our other providers, such as UServe and to Mears Taxi, to start bringing them online, because we see this number not going down. It may plateau for a while, then start, but we expect it'll probably have a gradual increase over some period of time. So we want to be prepared with that, with our capacities on our vehicles, et cetera. Next chart, please. We break it down into the funding source and in the client analysis. ADA continues to be our largest piece of what we do on a daily basis, with 27,073 trips in March. And then the transportation disadvantage was 15,138 trips. A very substantial part of our total trip count. We've talked a little bit about the COVID-19 trips and trips to the vaccination sites, et cetera. At the end of March, we were right just a little less than 300 trips going to the convention centers and also to the vaccination site out there in Osceola. We've really been happy with that. That number now is well over 750 trips. So it has been widely used and very appreciated by the members and the constituents within the community. So the next chart then is trip purpose. Again, we really view ourselves not just providing a trip, but we are a part of the medical world, and we're also a part of the employment world. And then, of course, then there's also the recreational side of it. But most of our trips are medically medical related, between dialysis and just other medical necessary trips. Employment is still, even with people who have a lot of folks are still working at home, the employment trips are still substantial, and with right at 11,000 there. Next chart, please. I also do landscaping on the side. So, next chart, please. Okay. I don't know why my screen went to a landscaping screen, but that was interesting. As far as phone calls, and Trish, she mentioned this, we're starting to see the number of phone calls go up dramatically. You can see the red line. We went from 42,882 phone calls in the January timeframe. In March, we had 53,240. That was a 12% jump over March of 20 over, excuse me, let me start over. That was a 12% jump over March of 2020. So again, folks are calling, they're making reservations, they're wanting to know where their trip is. And so we've seen that call volume. It's still not at the pre-COVID-19 levels, which was right, back in 2019 was almost 70,000 calls, but 53, and we're seeing that the calls are still coming in the months of April and May. Next chart, please. We very proud of this chart. A year ago, the board expressed a lot of concerns, and rightly so, as did the Quality Assurance Task Force, about our average answer rate. We were right at 6.5 minutes there. We have worked very hard. I'm very proud of the team, what Slita and Lindy Castillo and others have done to bring that number down to 1 minute and 5 seconds. You can see the number of calls. We have noticed with the number of calls that average answer rate has gone up just a little bit. We're still very much under the 3-minute goal that was set in the TDSP, but we've seen it go up a little to 1.5 minutes, 1:45 at times. And the reason being is a lot of folks are calling in for, and we'll show it on another chart, but they're calling in, they're asking where their trip is and if the trip is going to be on time, are they going to be picked up on time? So we're starting to monitor that very, very closely in working with our trip provider, MV Transportation, so that we can make sure that we maintain this solid record of answering phones in a very reasonable period of time. Next chart, please. And again, these are numerically, it shows the 1 minute, 5 seconds. And if you take the 1 minute, 5 seconds and the 3 minutes, the average handle time, an average call is handled within 4 minutes, which is still a very good performance that the team has done. And again, the total calls, 53,240 for the month of March. The other measure that we're really looking at is how many people actually just abandon the call. When you see the abandoned is right at 5% of calls, which is 3,000. We want to answer every one that we possibly can and get to that, because it's an important customer on the other end that has a question or needs to make a reservation, and we fully understand that. But that number is much less than what it used to be when everybody had a lot of concerns about where we're at. I'm going to take a little time right now just to say we are on the verge of putting out a request for proposal that has been worked on by the team, and especially by our Director of Information Technology. He's done a great job of pulling together an RFP that we can go out And the phone system that we incorporated on a temporary basis during COVID-19 and the real heat of the pandemic, we're trying to duplicate that with a permanent system. And so we're going out for those proposals. And very shortly, we should have some answers as to where we're going to go with our new phone system, which will help us continue this great performance that you're seeing here right now and enhance the customer experience when they do call Access Links. Next chart, please. Breakdown of the different types of calls. The ETA, that's the estimated time of arrival calls. Those are by far the biggest number. This in March, it was 39%. We've literally had days here just recently where that was upwards of 51, 52, and 53%. So again, that's an area that we want to make sure the new phone system really helps out with, and whether we can get information via a text or a voice message or something of that sort, or just the ability to have a group, and that's all they do is answer those phone calls as to the estimated time of arrival and be able to get that information to our customers in a very, very timely manner. We are looking at that because we know the call volume is coming back. And you can see the other breakdown: fixed route, booking, paratransit, the eligibility calls, etc. So chart really breaks it down for us as to where we need to go focus our attention on. Next chart, please. Eligibility, and again, very busy chart, but I think it's informative. We look at our ADA recertifications, our ADA new applications for eligibility, the TD new applications, and starting June 1st, as we've talked about, the new TD application, which has been a joint effort between the working group there with the Quality Assurance Task Force and the LCB, has been phenomenal. We are going to get that application posted on our website, so it'll be fillable. Somebody can type all the information in, make a copy of it, and send it to us or fax it to us. We'll also we have a letter going out to all our existing transportation disadvantaged clients and letting them know of the new eligibility requirements. So when they come up for recertification, they'll have time to make those adjustments, etc. And so we're getting that word out. And again, thank you to Virginia and to Marilyn for Chairman Baldwin for reviewing the letter, so we make sure that it's consistent, it's good, and it says what we want it to say. And so thank you very much for all your feedback on that. And then on the bottom, we have just a chart showing the total people eligible for mobility services or access link services. And that stands at the end of March at 11,637. Next chart, please. Program status and initiatives. We wanted to follow up. There was a question in previous meetings in regards to our no-show counts. And in March of 2021, we had 1,760 no-shows. Just a little less than 4% of the people who make arrangements don't show up for their trips. So we continue to be very aggressive on how we follow up with them. Now, we don't cancel their service or anything of that sort, but what we do is we send them letters. We let them understand that, you know, that was a trip that is, again, as mentioned, it's subsidized by the local funding partners and very graciously to do so. And when they don't show up for that trip, that resource still needs to be paid for, and it is still paid for. So we try to educate our clients so that they understand that there's a cost involved, maybe not to them, but there is still a cost involved with the taxpayers and the funding partners. So uncollected fares, years ago, that was, I know, an area of a big focus. March of 2021, you're looking at $327, less than 2% of uncollected fares. And then I think, Bob, you had brought up in the past, talking about the 1MV application. and getting that word out. And we've been working with MV Transportation, and we're also putting a message on our phone system so that when somebody's calling for an estimated time of arrival, they can actually, we're going to walk them through on that message, hopefully, that they can go to the website, get signed up, and then if they choose on their smartphone, they'll be able to track where their ride is. So we're again trying to provide more services to our customers. Implemented process for COVID-19 vaccination trips. At the time when we presented this, it was 670. We're closer to 750 now, and really proud of that. And that includes both Osceola and Orange County. In Orange County was the convention center and also Valencia College West. And then we talked about the RFP for the new phone system and the customer contact system. So we're looking forward to that, to get that rolling. Next chart, please. Surveillance cameras, RFP, that is actually out in the community now. That's out in public. We are getting questions back, and we're working on answering those questions from different organizations that want to put a proposal in. What that will do is provide and enhance the safety for our clients that are riding our vehicles, but also for our operators. So in case something happens, that will always be able to have a video of what happened, so that way people can be protected. And then we can also answer questions if something comes up in regards to service. We've talked about the new implementation of the TD application process. And we are the next step now. Once we get through June and we implement the new TD, then we're going to get the working group back together. And as promised, we're going to be working on streamlining the ADA process. And we're very fortunate. We got a resolution that Sheila Young had sent to us, and that had been sent to Tallahassee in regards to those individuals with permanent disabilities. They shouldn't have to go through some arduous recertification process. We concur. And again, this is Chairman Baldwin has been very vocal about that. And so we are going to adhere to that and get that improved. That'll be a process improvement for us, but also a big help and an improvement for our clients. Next chart, please. Fleet update, we talked about this, 165 vehicles. We want to grow that number. 1/3 of those are being renewed every couple of years. We've taken delivery of 63 brand new paratransit vehicles. We have another 19 currently on order of the larger vehicles so that we have more room on those. And then we're even talking in our, looking out into the FY22 year of getting another 15. So we are very aggressive with our vehicles, getting them changed over. So you're riding in very good new equipment. So it's important that we keep very proactive in this, and that's where we want to go. Next chart, please. And I think that's it. One thing I do want to share with all of you is on that last chart is the fact that we have proactively been working on social distancing in our vehicles. We have been working with our provider, MV Transportation. It's critical that we keep increasing that capacity on our vehicles. We're running into, and I know, like I've talked with Sheila, I thought she was going to be on the meeting today, but we've had some on-time performance issues. We've had some late pickups, and a lot of it has to do with that flexibility in the scheduling. And we're also getting feedback too that our operators, who we also care about, are having to run a lot of extra trips, and quite frankly, they're getting, in some cases, very tired. And so we are working on that right now. I wanted to be forthright and candid with you all that we're going to have to, we are increasing that capacity on the vehicles because we want to have that flexibility in scheduling, which will do a better job for you, but also do a better job for our operators, and they'll be safer, and we'll also get everybody picked up on time and better, and get you delivered to where you want to be, to your destination within that time frame. So that was very important, and I wanted to bring that up. So thank you all, and open to any questions.
Norm, I want to thank you for your presentation, but I also want to thank you on two different points. One, the vaccination transportation opportunity. As soon as vaccines became available, I started advocating for this at the county, and they listened. And thank goodness for you guys stepping up and figuring out the best way for us to do that. So that has been so helpful. And I love hearing that number, because my goal is to make sure everybody in Orange County has access to being vaccinated if they want to be vaccinated. And also, a lot of times, even for my first time on this meeting, I come with a lot of concerns. I had a mother who used Access Links for 7 years, and you have been phenomenal to work with, and just basically taking all the punches and come back and help us. And I think Ms. Baldwin can almost second that. You really have stepped up and tried to be transparent, and had to, when you guys were wrong, you took it, but you also took it to improve it. And I think everyone on this call and everyone in this room can acknowledge what Norm and his team have done, and now Dana will be able to do. I just have follow-up questions, and then I'll open it to online and in the room. I know that you talked about mirrors coming back on board, and I can't help but have some concern about companies having trouble filling job positions. And I know mirrors is also going through this. Do we have a backup plan? Do they feel that they can step up and do it? And then my other question, that way you can just answer both. Are your calls, is everyone back at the call center, or are your calls still being answered from home? Do you have people working from home?
I'll answer the second one first. All the call center representatives are still working remotely from home. We do not have any of the call center representatives, our MSRs or our mobility services representatives working here on site, unless they're in working on training or something of that sort. But no, they're still working remotely, and that again has worked out very well. And so we want to stay and remain in that mode of operation. In regards to your first question, yes, we are working with Mears Taxi, but we're also working with UServe. They're both out. Mears is looking at some different issues, but they're getting ready. Whereas UServe is very aggressively going out and recruiting their independent contractors to get them back in driving on our behalf again. So we are hopefully by the time we get into the next meeting of the LCB, we will be well underway in using UServe and having them on board and providing trips to like employment areas and medical, et cetera. So they're working very aggressively. They're going to make sure that they're completely compliant and everybody's gone through the proper medical and DMV backgrounds, et cetera, so that we're providing a safe trip out there. But UServe is working real hard to make that happen. The challenges of finding people is major. MV transportation is something that we talk to them on a daily basis about right now. Their recruitment efforts, their ability to retain operators. It's not an easy job. These men and women who are out there doing it and providing this service, they're working long hours. They do an incredible work for our community, and some of them get tired. And so, but MV Transportation is working very hard to increase those numbers. And that's why what I talked about increasing the capacity, it's because we want to keep everybody safe. That's why masks are still going to be required on all the vehicles. That is an FTA guideline, and that's a requirement, or a TSA requirement, excuse me, all the way out until September 13th at a minimum. So masks going to be required, but we are working the operators very, very hard. So we need to give them some options and scheduling tools so that maybe we can accommodate the growing amount of trips necessary with the same amount of operators that we have right now as we grow that that workforce. But yeah, it's a real challenge right now, and it's go across the country. And I know Dana could talk to the fixed route side and the transportation side, that it shows up there too, even for our big buses.
Thank you, Mr. Hickling. I want to open up for any questions or comments from our online participants.
Madam
Please.
Chairman, you had a hand from Marilyn Baldwin from earlier on, and then Mr. Bob Melia and Janae Olds are the hands so far.
Wonderful. Ms. Baldwin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Chairman, 2 concerns. Norm, very good report. I'm proud of the progress that we've made. But in reference to the rate increases, if we are going to authorize this rate increase, I think it is accurate to say that as a representative of users, I hope that that rate increase will reflect a greater quality of service. I realize that our users pay a very small part of that fee, but the funding partners and the users of the system, who many of them are low income, if these are multiple trips that they're taking throughout the week, these costs do add up to them. The second concern that I hear in the disability community is, especially with the sedans, people are very uncomfortable sitting in the back seat of a sedan with another client. I realize that you have capacity constraints and that you have income that must be made, but these are individuals who, like myself, are medically fragile. And I can fully comprehend their apprehension about getting into a sedan or one of those vans, a car or one of those minivans, where they are absolutely almost on top of another person. This is not acceptable, wouldn't be acceptable to me. The other concern that I want to echo on the behalf of that caller that was on before, I hear concerns from riders about, are the vehicles continually being cleaned? Are we still using those safety protocols? That's another thing that's really important to the riders. And finally, some of the individuals who are on work trips are experiencing long waits on their return rides. And from what you've said, I understand that some of this is because you're having difficulty with staffing. Will some of the rate increase that you're asking for help with paying the drivers possibly a little more? What can we do to alleviate those concerns? I've given you a lot of questions, might not have all the answers today, but just wanted some feedback.
I appreciate that, Chair Baldwin. And I always love your questions. So I'll try to cover what I can, and what I miss, we will certainly follow up on. So in regards to the pay and bonuses and retention programs, MV Transportation is working very hard on different methodologies to train, hire, and retain employees to continue to do the job. So that is something that is being, again, they're discussing it with their team and in the union that represents their operators. So they're in a very continuous dialogue about that. Your point about too many people in a sedan is well taken. Your point about the minivans is also well taken, because that's why we are been going very consistently with the bigger vehicles, as we shared in the past, so that you have more space and you have more options. The quality of service is a major factor, and hence the reason why we saw it in March, we saw it in April, and we're experiencing it now, and we need to address it, and we are addressing it. And that's why I come, quite frankly, and very candidly, not the most comfortable thing to tell you that we're going to increase capacity to it, but it's going to allow us to go get back to those quality standards that we must get to, which is our goal of on-time performance of 91%. We don't want to be outside of those windows. When somebody says they need to be picked up at 5 o'clock and to 5:30, we need to be there at that time so we can get them home for childcare, for their spouse, etc., or provide them that trip and get them to work on time. And I'll be very candid, there's been a lot of unhappy people, and rightly so. We're not making excuses that, quite frankly, we are trying to do better for. And hence the reason why we've brought that to your attention. I'm sure I've missed some of the questions. Oh, as far as the enhanced cleaning, that still continues today. I will tell you that I've had the watch links. There has been a process, and you will be seeing this come to the board in the very near future of going to and selecting a company that is going to provide air cleaning systems that will kill the virus on all the fixed route buses, including our paratransit buses. So as the air circulates, these machines, and you won't even notice them, they're not that big, quite frankly, on the paratransit, but they will sanitize the air that's being breathed and take out any of the toxins or the viruses that are existing. So we've been working very aggressively on that, and we're real excited about getting those implemented on our vehicles to enhance the cleanliness in the long term. And I think Mr. Grilich, I'm going to say Grisick, is it? James, I'll go with that. It goes to your question earlier. Yes, we want to continue this in this post-COVID world. This will be the new norm, is having these kind of, antiviral type mechanisms on the bus so that it kills those viruses.
Madam Chairman, Mr. Amelia, what's your next comment?
Mr. Emilio, you're recognized.
Thank you. A couple things jumped out in the last presentation or two. First, the call waiting. The last 2 weeks have been really bad in the afternoons. And I think one way to hopefully address some of that is to get the app working. The app does not work. The first one, the MV Mobi app worked great. And I would continually refer my staff to have their patients who used Access Links to use it. The new one is not working well. Fedner Medellin was out to my office recently. He was in my office. We were out in the parking lot. Didn't work there. I've tried to use it multiple times at my home. Doesn't work there either. I can't in good conscience tell my staff to have the patients use this app. Most of the patients are new injuries. They have a world of issues going on. The last thing they need is an app that's not working, that's not going to give them correct information, or any information for that matter.
All right.
So
Well,
that
thank
needs
you.
to be addressed.
Thank you. And then we'll go work that today. We will go address that today. Thank you.
The other issue is, and I'm a graph guy, so I loved your graphs. Dialysis makes a lot of money, a lot of money. They also have a lot of riders. Has anyone, MetroPlan, Links, reached out to them to see how they could help, either financially or working with their clients' insurance providers to get their Medicaid transportation providing services? Because that would seem to be a big issue that could be addressed that might help resolve some of these issues with the program.
Okay. I can tell you, since I've been here, we have not reached out to them with that specific question, but maybe it's something that we want to discuss during the workshop that is being proposed and planned.
And one last question. You had mentioned Mears and the other ride provider. Is that in kind of the planning stage? Is there a contract already in hand? Are they actively working on providing assistance to MV and the other provider?
Contracts are in hand. They're under contract, so that's not an issue. There's some compliance issues because we, for almost 6 months, didn't use them. So they need to come back up to the Florida Department of Transportation what they call the 1490 compliance regulations. And so that's what they're doing right now. And in any new of their independent contractors that they bring on board to go provide trips on our behalf in assistance to MV transportation, they need to be compliant. And that's something that we just mandate as part of the contract, but they are under contract right now. So, and they're all actively working towards providing us trips.
And then one last thing, and I will get off, and I apologize, I need to leave. I've got a patient issue I need to take care of. But last night, my ride was an hour and a half late after my pickup window. And I can understand, I had a long day at work, so I put on Sirius XM and listened to a Bruce Springsteen concert and just waited till my ride came. But there are a lot of other people that don't have that luxury, so I'm glad you understand that and you're addressing that issue. When it comes to Mears or another ride provider, I understand what Ms. Baldwin said, and I visualized an issue I had, I guess, Tuesday. I was picked up on time right at the beginning of the window. We went down to Coons and we picked up 4 individuals who were visually impaired but physically able. And I said, understanding what Ms. Baldwin said, and I totally agree, that seems like a great opportunity where a van could pick them, could pick up 4 or 5 individuals, still be safely distanced, and be pretty efficient picking up and dropping off. Just something that came to the top of my head.
It's a fair point, and we appreciate that feedback. And you're right on the mark.
All right, well, I await a date for a working group. I will gladly join and hopefully be a contributor. But thank you. I apologize. I need to go and take care of some issues now.
Thank you, Bob. And I think we have another person who is that
Ms. Olds.
Ms. Olds. You are recognized, Ms. Olds.
Thank you. Good morning. Is it still morning? Good morning, everybody. I really have a comment rather than a question. Mr. Norman, I know it was mentioned earlier about MV transport and the employment needs. I think they were talking about that earlier. So I wanted to kind of expand on that. MV transport is working very aggressively to try to hire people. They've come into our office to see if there were some candidates that are interested in being hired. So they are working toward that. I am aware that they are having a job fair on the 21st and the 22nd to get individuals. What we're noticing is a lot of employers are struggling to hire. So I want to offer you assistance. If you are with any of these providers, if they need help with employment and finding people that to meet their needs, please reach out to me so that I can help you with that. The biggest issue that we're seeing with employment is we're fighting with unemployment. Unemployment is really a struggle right now because people are getting a pretty good wage through unemployment with all the assistance and the expansions of unemployment with the federal benefit. So what we're seeing is, and I'm just giving this to you so maybe you could take it back to MV Transport and the other providers, we're seeing businesses have to increase their wages to compete with unemployment. So some employers that we have are now increasing it to $15 instead of $13. But just know that we do train individuals for drivers. We do train drivers for CDLs. As soon as they come out, our responsibility is to assist them with employment. So I can connect them with MV Transport or any of the other providers that you're working with. So I do want to just make sure that I put that out there for you. But we are currently working with MV Transport to try to fill the need that they have.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And thank you for that insight and that feedback. And definitely, while we don't get into their wage discussions, because we're absolutely, we're not allowed to, nor do we want to get into that point, but we do know that they're doing market studies and they're doing all the right things to make sure that whatever they offer as far as wages is consistent with what the market is demanding right now here in Central Florida. So, but thank you very much. And I will definitely pass that information along to them.
No worries.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Olds. Just want to make sure there aren't any other comments or questions. Do we see any additional comments or questions?
I don't see any on my end. Leilani,
There are none. I am looking on the public side.
thank you.
And do we have any in the room? Any comments or questions? No? Okay. Norm, I think you're out of the hot seat. I mean, you're done with your presentation. Okay. Thank you. All righty. And again, we cannot vote on this today because we do not have a quorum. So we are going to head and move on. There are 2 general information items for you to read at your leisure and upcoming meetings. There's a list of upcoming meetings and events of interest for information. I do want to go ahead and please understand, we will need to schedule a special meeting to take action on all of these items, hopefully very soon, so that we're not under the pressure of that June 30th date. But outside of that special session, please mark your calendars. The next TDLCB meeting is August 12th, and it will be in person. An
Madam Chair,
in-person meeting. Yes,
Madam
ma'am.
Chair, can I jump in real quick?
Absolutely.
If I can have everyone to just take a look at your calendars right now, and Lisa will follow up, but we're looking at either next week, May 20th at 10, or May 25th, which may be a BCC meeting, and if that's the case, we won't be able to do it on the 25th. But if you can at least take a look at that, we would follow up immediately after this meeting. And we only need 9 people in this room. We need confirmation from 9 of you that you will be in this room, physically present. And we won't work as hard to get people on Zoom, but Zoom will be open as an option for those who want to come via Zoom. But we would need to have people in the room. And also, if I can also make a note, for your TDLCB meeting in August, we go back to physically required to be in the room. You will not have Zoom as an option to participate in those meetings. Zoom will be available only for the public to participate in the deliberations, but not for LCB members. So if you're not able to attend and you have an alternate, we will seek to get your alternate here in the room. If your alternate is not able to attend, it will be an absent for you. So I just wanted to go on record to make sure that everyone understands that as of July 1st, we go back to our regular meetings. And if you can hold May 20th, we're going to work real hard to see if we can get 9 people in the room to take action on these items.
I just wanted to
today.
state, I can do the 25th.
You can do the 25th?
Yes.
Awesome.
I
That
can't.
may be
I
even better.
can't do the 20th.
Okay, I was thinking that the 25th was a BCC day, but if
No.
you're awesome, we're gonna try to make that work if we can get 9 people to.
Virginia, we have some hands from Marilyn and Crystal. I believe Crystal was up before Marilyn.
Crystal, you're recognized.
Oh, I was just gonna tell Virginia that there is no BCC meeting on the 25th.
Yes, you're correct. We just have 2 in a row, this
Thank
week and
you.
next week. Ms.
Awesome.
Baldwin? Ms. Baldwin,
Yes,
you're
Chairman.
recognized.
Yes, Chairman Uribe, I have a question. It goes back, it relates to this, but goes back to something. I'm very dismayed about the fact that we're being forced to come back before many of us with disabilities and health problems are ready. Could this be something that we try to take up with the legislature? Many people with disabilities who want to participate in government and community meetings can do so with the possibility of using Zoom. And I think that possibility needs to be open and part of the quorum, allowing people with disabilities to better participate. So is there something we can look at to bring this to the legislature? Because the way this is now, it's not fair.
Yeah. Madam Chair and members, there was a bill that was filed. You had a House and a Senate sponsor of that bill. It did not make it through the legislature. And so we can take it back again. We noticed, of course, that we had tremendous participation at all of our meetings from the public and from members of each of our committees and our boards. And again, there was legislative action that was taken to the legislature and it failed. It did not pass. And so it may be brought back again. And maybe if it comes from the CTD as opposed to the legislators, it might get a different look with that spin on it. But this past legislative session, it wasn't entertained at all.
And Ms. Baldwin, I also want to add, in case there's so many things that happen in the legislative session, in addition of it failing, the governor has taken away the ability of local counties to implement that rule, which means all the executive orders County Mayor Jerry Demings have put into place are no longer allowed, including the mask, the separation, the space. So the governor and the legislator essentially took the entire municipalities and counties the ability to do what's right for their community. So everything that passed in Tallahassee was anti allowing these decisions to be made at the local level for the benefit of the community that's there. And my concern in particular is we're a high populated county, estimates of over 1.4 million people. I don't think we could be compared to Hernando County or other smaller counties. But unfortunately, it did pass that we are now not allowed to implement any executive orders at the local level. So unfortunately, so just wanted to give you some additional information.
Understood, sadly understood. We have work to do.
Yes, ma'am. So again, that TDLCB meeting will be August 12th in person. Are there any additional members who have comments, who have a final comment, anything that's going on? I think we had a great discussion today, and I really get excited at everyone really being involved in this process, and I look forward to that engagement to continue when we meet in person. But any hands out there, any in Zoom or any in person?
I don't see any hands on Zoom, Madam Chair, nor do I see any in person, but we do have that video queued up that
Okay.
you requested.
If you don't
and-
mind, can we just do the public comment? very quickly?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Whatever your
We
pleasure
will, and my concern was Pedro, who was there, but we will now hear any comments from the public. Do we have anyone wishing to speak at this time? If so, please use the raise hand function found at the bottom of your screen or pressing *9 on your phone keypad. When we call your name, the host will unmute your microphone. You will see a bottom pop-up that says host wants to unmute you. Accept that prompt to activate your microphone. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record. Please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less. Are there any comments at this time?
Yes, we have one person on the attendee side. It is Mr. Pedro. We have him dialed in. So Mr. Pedro, you're able to go ahead and speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Pedro Portuondo, and I'm actually representing Marisol Mabry Independent Mobility. I wanted to introduce Independent Mobility Transport. We're a local transportation company. Our leader and our CEO is Marisol Mabry. Her team has over 50 years of paratransit experience. IMT is currently performing non-emergency transport services. Ms. Mabry's experience and dedication has allowed IMT to transition from being a provider to being appointed a broker in our service area. IMT's on-time performance, customer service satisfaction surveys, willingness to take on more trips, and putting customers first are some of the reasons IMT was approached to become a broker. These are proven results. IMT oversees, assigns, and performs over 3,000 trips monthly and ensures that all providers are adhering to contractual commitments and OTP. IMT is a registered DBE, and our team is familiar with Trapeze, Route Match, Circulation, and other transportation softwares. IMT has consulted with transportation organizations to assist with on-time performance, complaints, staff training, and various operational needs. Again, these are proven results. IMT is familiar with the needs of the community, and we recognize the importance of customers arriving to their appointments on time. IMT is in the position to collaborate to bring forth positive transportation resolution to individuals who utilize these services. I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to introduce Independent Mobility Transport, a transportation company with proven results, IMT. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can you please state your address for the record?
Yes.
Mr. Pedro, if you have that, you can just drop that in the chat and it'll become part of the record.
We'll definitely do
Because
that.
we
Thank you
need
very
the
much.
spelling of your name as well.
So if
So
you
that-
can just
I'll make
provide,
sure
yeah,
that I
your
do
full
that.
name and address, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Is there any person today who wishes to make a comment in person?
There's none.
Okay, are there any written comments that were submitted before this meeting?
We did not receive any written comments, and I would venture to say that the other speaker card that we had is affiliated. They have the same IMT, so that may have been the same organization.
Okay, all righty. Well, it is, at this time, there is no further business. And I want to thank everyone again. We stand adjourned.
Did you want to run that video real
Oh, yeah.
quick?
Oh,
We're gonna
here's the
run
video,
30-second
everyone.
video.
It's 30 seconds, but it's really nice and it's special to this, what they've done. So thank you. And everyone have a wonderful day once the video's over and look forward to seeing you on the 25th.
So thank you, Madam Chair and members. There are copies of the promo material that's on the table. You want to take one of these with you, and also in the chat is a link to the survey if you want to share it. So thank you all so much. We will email it, yes.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
The 25th at 10 a.m. and anyone that wants to join us here in person would be greatly appreciated.
Yep, Lisa is going to connect with them right after this meeting.
Have a
So
great day,
thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.